wanted to talk about how you can structure your day as a finance leader in a startup or scale up so that you can get things done, so that you are better as a finance leader, and so that you don't feel overwhelmed and burnt out. My name's Alysha Randall. I'm a fractional CFO for Fast Growth Consulting, and I also do a course called Financial Leadership Fundamentals where I teach new and aspiring CFOs who are working within a startup or scale up. And I also wrote a book on the same topic called Financial Leadership Fundamentals: How to Become a CFO in a Startup or Scale Up. So, as I mentioned today, I really want to focus on structuring your day. This may sound a little bit funny, but I found that if I do have a week where I've structured it properly, I'm able to think clearly, get ahead of the game essentially, and make sure that what I said I would deliver gets delivered. And also, I have the time to be a finance leader, not just a finance manager. So when you're working for a startup or scale up, it is really hard to get things done sometimes. I certainly know from 20 years of experience working within startups or scale up. I've certainly been working for places before or much earlier in my career whereby I found it really difficult to focus and I just had too much on my plate and I wasn't able to really focus on those longer term things, those value adding tasks, being overly strategic. I just found myself constantly fighting fires. I'd come into the office, I'd just go straight to my emails, deal with the backlog of emails that honestly, it would feel like I emptied my inbox at the end of the prior day, or at least the urgent things. And by 9:15, it was full of 20 urgent emails, all that would take a lot of time straight away, which, you're not really starting the day off in a very good place. And then I would have back-to-back meetings, and every single meeting would have loads of actions that I would need to implement, which felt almost immediately. And then there would be somebody running to my desk with something urgent that's just happened and needed my immediate attention. Then I would have someone in my team that's really upset for one reason or another, or worst case, they resign. And there was always something. And then, something silly like, oh, an invoice hasn't been paid, and therefore a particular media or marketing opportunity was being held to ransom because an invoice hasn't been paid. You know what I'm talking about. So, this is a very common day in the life of a finance leader in a startup or scale up. And what you need to try and do is a lot of those things you won't be able to take away, of course, but it's trying to structure your day so that you get a breather, so that you get ahead of the game, and so you don't feel overwhelmed and burnt out. It can be really easy in a startup to just put your head in the sand sometimes, never take a lunch break, essentially just eat your lunch at your desk, whether that's at home or in the office, run from one meeting to the next, work really long hours, and then just to hit any of your deadlines, and then only thinking short term rather than long term. But this isn't sustainable. At least it shouldn't be sustainable. So if you've been doing this for a long time, then you've come to the right place as a starting point to try and get ahead of this. So there are other solutions that you do need to consider in a way to structure your day just so that you can get things done, but also so that you become better at your job. So there are a few things that I have done and I still do today that help me with structuring my day. I am one of those people that spends an hour on Sunday afternoon looking at the week ahead. You don't have to necessarily do that. I do that probably because I'm a business owner, and usually on Sunday afternoons my family is just lazing around. So I take a quick break, and also because I enjoy it. When it's your business, you enjoy it more, and have take a quick break. But I have done it before when I was working for a startup, I would often do that Friday afternoon. So Friday afternoon was always my planning, strategizing time. I blocked out Friday afternoon always. And so on Friday afternoon, I would have a look at the week ahead, have a look at what's coming out up, thinking about what it needs to be done. Sometimes it's worthwhile deciding whether the meetings that are in place in the following week are necessary or not, whether you're hosting them or not. So, do you need to attend these meetings, or are there meetings that you can cancel because either the project's not ready yet, or you think anything that was on the agenda can be dealt with via email? Clearing out basically the clutter of your calendar is a good way of thinking about it. And then also reviewing your deadlines, making sure that you're ready for these deadlines. You should already know them already. Having a look at how you're going to optimize your team so that they can help you. There's lots of things that you can do like this, but there's no point in looking at your calendar for the first time early Monday morning. If you can, I would highly encourage that you look at that in the afternoon. One thing that to help you a little bit with the way you're feeling and your mindset and your body, actually, they're saying that sitting down is one of the worst things you can do for longevity. So if you're interested in that, you may want to consider taking breaks in between tasks. There are a couple of ways of doing this. One of them is the Pomodoro technique that I am a big believer and user of. If you've never heard of Pomodoro technique, I have a video already on this particular method, which I'll leave above and below. But essentially, it's doing a task for 20 minutes, taking a 5-minute break, repeat 3 times, and then taking a 15-minute break. Now, that 5-minute break, it could just be checking your emails or your Slack messaging. But what I do like to do is at least take 30 seconds to stand up and stretch a little bit, particularly if you're at home. You can do that quite easily. If you're in the office, it may just be standing up, doing a lap of the office, getting a glass of water, and coming back again. So moving your body, it just makes you feel better. It's better for your health, and it's also better for your mind. Taking a break and away from the screen, especially if you're stuck on something. I always find that coming back with a fresh pair of eyes, you usually spot things quickly, because when you're in the weeds, sometimes you just can't see it. Or if you're brainstorming, sometimes if I take that 5-minute break, even if it's walking around the block, the answer kind of pops into your head. It's amazing how that happens. So I would highly recommend always taking, it literally only has to be a couple of minutes, which is not going to hinder how much work you have to do. It's actually going to help. Using the Pomodoro technique and thinking about structuring your day in this method is also highlights that if you're not doing these methods, it's amazing how much time can be wasted. So particularly if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and like you have too much to do, when I'm in that situation, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, I can find myself flittering between lots of different things. So I'll quickly go to my inbox, check my emails, maybe respond to one, then go to Slack messaging, have a look at all of the messages, unread the ones that need attention. Then I go back to either my diary or my task list or something that I was working on, and then repeat, and then maybe jump on my personal emails, and then you could easily do that for hours and hours and hours, and actually you don't get anything done. It is amazing how much time you can waste by just flapping jumping from one thing to the next. So this is why Pomodoro technique's really interesting as well, or that kind of focus work, is if you say, I'm only going to focus on this task, particularly if you're not interested in doing this task, it's one of those parts of your role that you don't like. I'm only going to do this for 20 minutes. And sometimes I even, particularly again, if I'm overwhelmed or a bit stressed, I find after 5 minutes, I'm going back to my inbox, and I have to I have to be diligent and say, no, 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 we're doing this 20 minutes. And I go back to it again. And even though 20 minutes doesn't sound very long, which is why it's an interesting a psychological thing because I only have to do this for 20 minutes. I can do that. It's amazing actually how much you get done in 20 minutes if you're not flapping about. So what I do, particularly if I have a lot to do, I will check my inbox and my Slack in the morning and then I turn it off. The notifications, the fact that I'm online, and I do my focus work that I need to do, whether that's in the morning or the afternoon. And so then I can't get distracted and I get the things done that I need to do. I would also suggest that you need to make sure that your calendar is working for you and not against you. So I mentioned that I like to plan on Friday afternoons. That is my planning time, my long-term thinking time, my strategy time. So I would recommend that you do the same. Think about when is a good time in your week where you can really focus on things and think about things long term. Some people find Friday afternoons quite good because it's very rare that you have a meeting in Friday afternoon, so the chance of you being distracted is quite low. Some people like to do the opposite. You do it Monday morning when everyone's coming in, maybe a bit slow to get started, and it's not difficult to have a 2 to 3 hour block every Monday morning when no one can speak to you, basically. And I would say that you put this in as a recurring meeting in your calendar today. So press pause on this video, go to your calendar and put this in your calendar now. You might not be able to start this recurring meeting this week because you've already got things in your diary. So go 2 weeks out, for example, and put it in every single week. I like to do every single week. Some people do it bi-weekly or monthly, whatever it is. Put it in your diary, block it out. No, it is sacred. And so you have to make sure you have the diligence to stick to it. That is the hardest part. Putting it in diary is the easy bit, but you have to stick to it. And what I also like to do is in that meeting, anything that I come up during the week that I know needs to spend some time thinking about strategizing, whether it's the finance function or the business, I will put it in the description of the recurring meeting. And so then when it comes to that time, I already have a list of things that I need to think about or plan about. And then I delete them when I've done them and then add them as I keep going. So if you do it this way, when the meeting pops up, you don't then stop and think, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I've already got a deadline. I'm just going to go to that. It actually gives you an agenda and something to focus on. So that is a very good way of making sure that you have the time to plan and essentially be a leader. Do those strategic thinking that need to have the time to do. Add in a lunch break. So even if it's just for 30 minutes, add in a lunch break again where you get up and walk around. I like to, I've got a couple of parks nearby, so I lap each of them. That is my 30 minutes. Many days I do it without listening to anything and I just walk. And then some days I listen to podcasts. So if you're finding that yourself is really overwhelmed, chaotic, lots of firefighting, I'd recommend that you walk without a podcast just to calm the brain a bit. So it's like walking meditation. But if you you find podcasts soothing or enjoyable or what have you, and a bit of an escape like I do, then that's what I would recommend. Or you could do a bit of yoga, or you could do a bit of strength training, whatever it is, or you just sit down and enjoy your lunch. Whatever it is, I would recommend doing that 30-minute. There was a quote in the Harvard Business Review that said one survey found that North American employees who take a lunch break every day reported higher engagement based on metrics, including job satisfaction, productivity, and the likelihood to recommend working there to others. So again, like having a short break after tasks and meetings, taking a lunch break is beneficial for your health as well. I'd also say with your calendar, my default settings is 30 minutes. It used to be an hour, but most meetings don't need that long anymore, particularly if it's virtual meetings. I do find that, unfortunately, that initial chit chat that you have for 10 minutes at the beginning of a meeting when you're face to face doesn't happen on Zoom. People are a bit more quick to get stuck in. So if you do have lots of meetings, try and keep them short. And again, cancel them if you don't need them, basically. And then I do actually put an email checking slot in my calendar. So instead of checking my inbox every 5 minutes, I check it during these allotted time. I just find that it's a email like, your phones, like Slack messaging, like social media, it can just really suck up a lot of your time. So unless you have to work on emails like sales or customer services, people do, I would recommend that you just check it every couple of hours for 15 minutes, not spend your whole time there. As part of the planning session that I mentioned as well, the other thing that I like to do is work out what my goals are for the week. So I might have one large task that I really want to get done for the week. And then each morning I might have 2 to 3 tasks that I want to get done that day. I would recommend no more than 3 in a day, just because things always take longer than you expect. Always do the one that you don't want to do first, get that over and done with. But if you have a focus for the day, again, it just helps you to focus to get those things done, rather than flapping about and getting worried about your deadline. So if you have it strategically put that way, then it's really easy to focus. And then also I find if a deadline is looming or there's something in my background thinking about what I should be doing because I know a deadline's coming up, if you've allotted time for it, then you actually forget about it. So if on say on a Monday, you're like, oh my God, I've got a big deadline on Thursday, I'm really worried about that, then put a big chunk of time on Tuesday, for example, or Wednesday to tackle it. So then on Monday, when you know you've got something else to do, it's not taking up headspace. Essentially, it frees up your mind basically, and that's a good way of doing it. And as a finance leader, I do have to say that delegation is also really important. I know sometimes it's easier to say, oh, it's just quicker if I do it myself, but there's 2 things to think about there. Firstly, do you have a good team that you can trust and are responsible and work well? If not, and you don't trust them, then you may need to consider replacing your team, or better, upskilling your team and giving them the skills that they need so that you can trust them going forward. And it's also worthwhile taking the time to train them on the task, even if you think that they're too junior at this stage and it's just quicker for you to do it rather than teach somebody how to do something. Unfortunately, that may be true today, but it's not going to be true next month or the month after. Actually, the reverse is true. So you need to make sure that you are of the mindset of short-term pain for long-term gain. Get a really strong team. Make sure you give them the skills that they need. Make sure that you're teaching them the things that they need to do, and anything that's on your plate that really you shouldn't be doing. You should be spending your time on strategy and partnerships. Then teach them how to do it so that next month you don't have to do it, and the month after and the month after, or next quarter, the next quarter. So you're only playing the short-term game if you don't take the time to upskill your team and teach them what they need to know. So there's lots of tips there to help you plan your week, plan your calendar, make sure that you can deal with the firefighting and all the tasks at hand. I do find that a lot of times when things look like a massive fire and need putting out, it's not always the case. Sometimes it's a fire, sometimes it's just people screaming loudly. So really do consider whether it's a fire or not and whether you do need to drop everything to deal with it. And anything that is a fire, you should think about how you can make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that should be part of your planning time that you dedicate. Is there a process that needs to be improved so that this fire doesn't happen again? Are there controls that need to be put in place or policies that need to be put in place so that this doesn't happen again? So really consider what you need to do and the company needs to do that potentially you need to lead on so that these fires don't keep happening. So if you are interested to be a strong and confident finance leader within the next 12 months, I've got 3 steps for you. The first one is to subscribe to this channel. I post every Thursday on this particular topic. So definitely subscribe to this channel. Second one is to check out my book as well. It's available directly from me, which is a bit cheaper, or you can get it on Amazon Kindle or Amazon paperback. And then the third one is to check out the FLF course, where our goal is that all students confident and skilled CFOs or finance leaders within 12 months, where we have a proper framework that everyone can work through, and we have Q&A sessions every single month so that we can discuss any issues people are having within their role. So thanks so much for watching if you made it to the end, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.